Alright, as you've probably guessed from the short I put out last week, I am starting a new series on Pokemon. So, I've played Pokemon games for a majority of my life, honestly longer than anybody probably should. I started first playing the games in Gen 4. My first ever game was Pokemon Diamond. Uh, my grandfather had bought it for me while we were at a Walmart. Saw the cover and I was like, I want that, and he was like, sure, why not? So he started me on this long path that's probably taken up, well, more of my life than I'm willing to admit. I mean, I have played since then, from when I was probably around 8 or so, till now, which has been a good majority of my life, as I've played even up to the current day games. And one thing, obviously, as I've gotten older and as the years have gone on, is that Pokemon games have gotten easier over the years. This is partially due to the fact of getting older, and a child's game, of course, would get easier for you as you grow up, but it's also to the fact of Nintendo making the games subsequently easier and easier as the years have gone by. So, to entertain myself through Pokemon games for as long as I have, not only have I just played through them for fun, I've also increased the difficulty for myself by doing what's called a Nuzlocke. This essentially just makes a Pokemon game more difficult. We'll go over the rules of what a Nuzlocke is as the series goes on and as the rules themselves actually come up. But suffice it to say, it makes a Pokemon game more tough. Now, this is a method I could apply to any Pokemon game of my choice, so at the end of the day, why choose Pokemon Black and White 2? Why bother, right? I could have picked anything. I could have picked the newest game in the whole series and done a Nuzlocke of that. Well, the reason I picked Black and White 2 is because I've done a Nuzlocke of this game 3 times on 3 separate occasions all the way through. And to be honest, I've had fun every single time because this game is such a good game. Nintendo did a great job. I honestly think this is where Pokemon games peaked, and they slowly started to descend and fall off into the easy baby games that we have today from the series. But the real main reason I chose this game is that it's the only Pokemon game, out of all Pokemon games, to have separate difficulty modes. There is an easy, normal, and challenge mode. So, what I am going to be doing with this Nuzlocke is not only playing it as a Nuzlocke, but I am going to play on challenge mode. So, to be able to do this, I've got an emulator of the game, started off in challenge mode, and I'm going to run through and see how it is. The goal here, there are many, but the main goals are A, to have fun with this, B, to challenge myself as challenge mode implies, and C, quite honestly, when it comes to Nuzlocks, I like to give myself a hell of a hard time because that's part of what makes it so much fun. So, upping the difficulty in the most zany and wacky ways is kind of the way this series is going to go. So, stick around as long as you wish. You're not going to have to listen to me babble like this the entire time. You're going to get kind of the clip notes of most of the minor events, and you're going to, hear some commentary from me live during this as I recorded my reactions as I played the game, so you may get that occasionally too. But with that, let's get into it. As with all Pokemon games, we start off from very humble beginnings in our hometown at home, where our mother basically just tells us, hey, you want a Pokemon? You want a Pokédex? Well, guess what? If the answer is yes to both of those and not no, so we don't infinitely loop in circles, I can get you those and you can get off and start this game. That way you're not stuck in the house all day doing nothing. Please leave. After mucking around with my settings for a little bit, changing my text speed to fast, and switching the battle style from shift to set, which we'll get into the purpose of that later, I leave the house and go out to meet our rival of the game, good old Hugh, somebody who we're going to encounter and journey throughout the entirety of this game with. He's not a bad rival by all standards, he's a little hot-headed, but his teams are actually pretty consistently good, except for the fact that they don't give Hugh that many Pokemon. Again, this will be revisited later, but Hugh essentially offers to tag along with us to go get our first Pokemon since he's been bored forever because nobody else in town around his age seems to have a Pokemon of their own to actually fight with, so he's pretty excited. After searching around Aspertia for a little while, we'll eventually find a character waiting at the top of the very apparently famous Aspertia Outlook. This character would be Bianca. She is from the previous regular black and white game, and was one of your main rivals in that game. Now, 2 years later, as this game takes place, she serves as a research assistant to Professor Juniper, who we saw in the opening clips telling us how to name ourselves and our rivals and all that fun jazz. After confirming we're supposed to receive our Pokemon from Bianca, she basically opens up a box and says, alright, take your pick from these three. And we are given a choice of Tepig, Snivy, or Oshawott. Now, obviously, I'm not making this easy for myself, so rather than getting to choose my starter, I decided I'd just roll a die and then, figure out from there which one I got. All right, I'm going to record this for extra posterity here. I'm going to roll a d4. If I get a 1, it's Snivy. If I get a 2, it's Tepig. If I get a 3, it's Oshawott. And if I get a 4, I'll just roll again. So, there we go. All right, Snivy it is. Well, hope this goes well. Now, the reason I said I hope this goes well at the time for having chosen Snivy is because Snivy is by far my favorite starter out of all starter choices of all starter Pokemon of all games. Snivy to, Servine to Serperior is my favorite lineup. I love Serperior for some reason. It's just my favorite. And I haven't actually gotten to do a Nuzlocke with a Snivy or anything from the Snivy line in a long, long time. The most recent ones I've done have either been with Tepig or Oshawott due to my random rule, so I'm actually pretty excited to get another Snivy. And one name I've always wanted to give a Snivy has been Lucifer. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you Nuzlocke Rules for Dummies. Rule number 1 of a Nuzlocke is nicknames. When you first acquire a Pokemon, say this Arcanine for example, it may be named Arcanine, but that is not what you're going to call this fantabulous lion. Instead, you are going to call it something iconic, different, something to make you more attached to it. Say Simba, for example. That way, if anything were to, well, mysteriously happen to your very lovely Simba, you would be quite sad. Now, after having named and acquired Lucifer, it is time to set off on the journey of a lifetime through Pokemon Black and White 2. Except for the fact that we do have to pick up our Pokédex from Bianca before we leave, and the fact that Hugh ambushes us on the way out to have us fight our first trainer battle of the entire game. The Tepig you raised from an egg that I can possibly just lose to right here, right now. Let's go. First battle of the entire Nuzlocke. Surely nothing can go wrong to challenge mode Hugh Battle 1. Yep, okay, the challenge mode worked. It is level 6, I am level 5. This is gonna suck. Alright. Nothing more for me to do other than just hope this goes okay. Okay. Come on, let's go, Lucifer. Get those tackles in. The sprites are a little scuffed there, I can tell, because the emulator, but that's fine. I think I might just win because I have the speed advantage. Oh. I think you have to kill this time, Lucifer, otherwise you're donezo, buddy. Ooh. Okay, we're already going close on the first fight. Don't miss tackle. Ooh. Alright. A little closer than I wanted it, but that's okay. That is battle number 1 complete. We've crossed the first hurdle, and I get 2 levels from it. Learn Vine Whip. The one perk of challenge mode, I guess, at the start. Higher level, meaning higher XP. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you Nuzlocke Rules for Dummies. Rule number 2 of a Nuzlocke, Death. When a Pokemon's HP reaches 0, in most cases in a regular Pokemon game, your Pokemon faints. You can go back to the Pokemon Center, heal up to full health, and go on your merry way through the rest of the game. However, that is not so much the case for Pokemon when it comes to Nuzlockes. If their HP does in fact reach 0, they are now considered dead, and you have to put them in your PC box in a special box that you label as the dead box, where they will remain for the rest of the game. Now that we've discussed the first two major rules of Nuzlocks, we can get to the win and lose conditions. In order to win your Nuzlocke, you simply have to, well, defeat the champion of that particular game with your nifty team of Pokemon that you've gathered slowly throughout the game, all with their own unique nicknames that you have ties to, that you've journeyed with throughout this entire game together to overcome many challenges. The way you lose a Nuzlocke, quite simply, is if you lose a fight, meaning if all of your Pokemon in your party die in the same fight and the trainer wins, you now lose the entire Nuzlocke. It's over. It's a wash. Either start from ground zero or don't play a Nuzlocke, I guess. Now that we're done fighting Hugh, albeit very closely losing the entire Nuzlocke before it even began, it's time to begin our Pokemon journey in earnest, and go out to Route 19 for our very first encounter of the game. Alrighty, let's do this. Into the grass we go. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? A Patrat. You know what? I'll take it. Why not? Except for the fact that it's level 2. Oh, Christ. Okay. Maybe I can just throw a Pokeball if I'm lucky? Maybe? Please. Don't be difficult. That's all I ask. Oh, come on. You gotta be kidding me. Alright. Let's try this again. Come on, stay in the ball. You're level 2 Patrat. Don't get cocky. Okay. Let's try it again. Stay in the ball. Stay in the ball. Oh my god, twice? Twice. Twice 3 shakes and a break. You gotta be kidding me. Stay in the ball. That's all you need to do, just stay. Holy crap, man. Does challenge mode amplify? You know, I'm going for tackle. Could have saved myself so much time had I just done that at the start. Could have saved Pokeballs and money. But no. You had to waste some of that, didn't you? Oh my god, really? How? Oh my lord. This is messed. Okay. Of course, the first encounter has to give me problems. You're a Patrat. Get off your high horse. And get in the ball. I have 5 left now because of you. Matter of fact, I have 4. I've used up 6 Pokeballs on you. If that didn't catch, I was just gonna kill it. Like, there was no point. It took up 6 Pokeballs to catch a singular Patrat. You gotta be freaking kidding me. After struggling for around 3 minutes, I think, to catch a level 2 Patrat, as you'd imagine, I was not ready to name this thing, nor was I enthused to name this thing. So, I stuck all three names of the chipmunks from Alvin and the Chipmunks into a wheel, spun it, and ended up with Theodore as the name, so this Patrat will now be named Theodore. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you Nuzlocke Rules for Dummies. Rule number 3 of Nuzlocke's Encounters. So, throughout the map of the Univer region, in our case, there are many different locations which each house a name, such as certain towns and cities, certain routes, or extra places like caves or forests. All of these have an individual and unique name. So, when you first arrive at said location, the first Pokemon that you encounter in the grass or water, depending on your choice, depending on the area, is what's called and counted as your encounter for that place. You essentially have to either catch that and let that be added to your roster and team, or if you don't get to catch anything for that route at all for the remainder of the entire game. If you accidentally kill that encounter, well, no encounter for you on that route. If you run out of Pokeballs, well, too bad for you. I guess you should have brought more. If your Pokemon die in that fight and you choose to run away, just so you can, survive and continue through the Nuzlocke, well, again, too bad for you. No encounter for you on that particular route. So, when you total up all the encounters from certain routes or cities or caves and forests, you get somewhere around 37. Don't know if I counted that up properly. Essentially, so long as the place has a unique name, you can get an encounter there. Now, add in the fact that you have your starter at the beginning of the very game, uh, add in a gift Pokemon you can get in Black and White 2, and add in the neat little concept of hidden grotto encounters in Black and White 2, which is an extra location, and you total to somewhere around about 40-ish encounters, if I counted that up properly. We'll see as the game goes on. I could be very wrong, but this is just a rough estimate of counting ones that I scattered across this page. But that is the encounters rule in a nutshell. After now having acquired Theodore, all but begrudgingly, I head back to the Pokemon Center in Aspertia to heal up and get ready to make my way out onto the route to do a little bit of training. Now, I gotta preface this by saying, I knew things weren't going to go swimmingly through this Nuzlocke. I was, not trying to make it easy on myself on purpose. I just wasn't thinking that shit would hit the fan so early on. Ah, it did 6 points of damage. Good lord. And I was crit. You've got to be kidding me.